Hello, it's AmarRouh and welcome to the self-love series. If you're joining for the first time, then I'm AmarRouh. I'm a coach, a trainer, a guide, a support mechanism for anyone who wants to live a happier, healthier life. And one of my passions is talking about, learning about, and practicing self-love because I think it's just so important in life. And I have been doing these self-love interviews, and it's been ages since I've done a Facebook Live. So I'm really excited, and I'm really excited about who I'm going to be having a conversation with you today. And hopefully some of that conversation will be with you, even though you'll be typing in the comments. If you're listening on the replay, then just shout out replay, and I would love to hear your comments, your questions, your experiences, you know, your thoughts that come up as you hear me and the wonderful Gosia talking, who I will introduce in a minute. So I am going to just share this with my personal page, because Facebook doesn't always tell everybody that I'm live, and it's been amazing. I'm so excited I can't even find the right words. It's been ages. So let me just share this as quickly as I can to my personal page. Gosia will be joining us very soon. I know she's had technical problems, so it takes a few minutes for her to see that there's a live coming up, but we will have her for sure. So how have you been? I hope you've been, if you follow the AmarRouh page, I hope you've been enjoying my stress relief videos. That's just a part of the work that I do. And let me just share this. If you know me, or you've seen one of my live streams before, you know that I can't multitask when it comes to this stuff. So I'm going to do this, and then I can give you my full attention. Okay, let's share this. So, self-love. I'm interviewing today. I've been interviewing, so okay, let's start. Let's do a little recap, because you may not have seen some of the previous conversations I've done. And in the last 4 years or so, what I found with the people that I work with, the clients that I have, where we work on stress relief, on feeling more resilient, on wanting to live a happier, healthier life, but unblocking and releasing and letting go of the stuff that stops us doing that, and then empowering ourselves to be able to go out and live the life we want. In that time, when I've been doing that work, what I've noticed is it kind of all comes down to self-love, and remembering that when we can give ourselves time, when we can give ourselves space, when we can give ourselves what we need, then we are going to be able to do so much more for ourselves and for those around us, our loved ones, the people we work with, the dreams that we have. We can do so much more. If you're joining, say hello, by the way. I haven't done a live stream in so long, so Facebook may have done some updates in terms of how I see comments and all that kind of thing. So if you're joining, say hello, let me know what you've been up to. And today we're talking about self-love. And it's almost been a year, but almost a year ago, over a year ago, I'd been thinking about how I can start to help other people to be as much of themselves as possible. And I've got some notifications. Yay, Gosia's on. Gosia, I'm gonna bring you on in just a minute. It's been so long since I've done a live stream that I forgot I needed to do it landscape, so you may have to just join in the little window. I'm sorry about that. So I'll bring you on in a minute, but I was saying, over a year ago, I started thinking so much more about how, if whatever I can do to understand more about self-love, I would like to share with other people. What stops us? What gets in the way? What makes us feel guilty or responsible or resentful, or like we can't make time for ourselves? what gets in the way of that? And what can we learn about doing it well? Who do we know that does it well? And that's when I started exploring. I wanted to interview as many people as possible. And I actually announced it on Gosia's workshop. She does an annual workshop. And I actually kind of announced it there that this is, and put my intention out there that this is what I wanted to do. So let me just bring Gosia on and then we can start talking. I'm going to add you, Gosia. Please can. My screen is bent as well because my tripod is broken and I've sellotaped it because I keep forgetting to buy another one. So I tried adding you, Gosia, so I'll keep trying. Anyway, so I'm trying. Yay!
Fantastic.
Hey Anna, how you doing? Thanks for watching. So, can you hear me, Gosia?
Yes, I can hear you beautifully well. Well done.
Yay, you made it. So, yes, sorry, I forgot to change my screen over to allow you to join half, but we can just go like this, can't we?
Of course, yes. No problem, my darling.
So I was just telling people how I announced at your workshop last year, or beginning of January, that I wanted to interview as many people as possible and have as many conversations as possible about self-love and what it means and what gets in the way of self-love, because I truly believe that self-love is the superfood of life. Like, I feel like that's my definition now, having had so many conversations throughout the year, that self-love is like the superfood of life. Like, you'll do fine without it. You will still live your life without self-love, but when you add that superfood into your life, it's like magic. It's like everything opens up and everything becomes easier, and not, you know, and it feels like it's more possible. Things become more possible and you feel healthier, and there's a resilience, certainly in me, I feel, that feels stronger and more accessible in my life. And I think it's the superfood that we can sometimes miss. So I will come on to what your definitions of self-love are, because I really want to hear this. And just to introduce Gosia, Gosia is an awesome transformation coach, award-winning author, and helps hundreds and thousands of people across the world. I know you've been traveling recently, so I'll let you tell us about that in a minute. And if you're watching, by the way, say hello. And as we're talking, as we're sharing this stuff, let us know what you think. Let us know if you've got any questions that come up about self-love. Do you cringe when it comes to self-love? Do you enjoy your versions of it? What are they? I want to hear as much as possible. And I just want to say quickly that I love Gosia so much because she was my very first coach. Gosia was my very first experience of a coach, and she is the one who planted the seed about becoming a coach. Sorry, I keep messing with my phone because my video is bent. It was at a time when I was recovering from my cancer, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to go back to work. Hey, Anna, thank you for joining. Hey, Beb, hey, glad you could make it. And I had the opportunity to be coached by Gosia, and she planted the seed that she basically said, you need to be coached. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And it all I just could not get rid of it after that. The seed was planted and it just grew and grew and grew. And so I have got so much love and gratitude for Gosia, because she really helped steer me in that direction that I am in today. And so I think we can start. Let's start. I'd love to ask you some questions about self-love. I know you've been on your own journey. I know we were talking about this, that this journey doesn't end. So it's ongoing. So let's kick off. What would you like to say before we start? Is there anything you'd like to say? Is there anything I missed in terms of how you'd like to introduce yourself, what you've been up to? Was there anything you'd like to say first? I'm so excited. I'm sorry, I just can't figure anything out.
What I would actually like to ask is that does anybody know how to stop when people send messages to me. Now I'm speaking, it basically freezes my screen, right? So if someone sends me a message on Facebook on Messenger, right, my screen will freeze and you'll think that you have lost me for a moment. It always happens.
Okay.
Does anybody know who is listening how to stop this happening? And so that's what I would like to. This is the housekeeping sort of, things out of the way. Do you know that?
Yes.
Yes. What's the
I
answer?
don't know that. I think you can. I don't know actually because it's not happened to me. I'm guessing unless you uninstall it, or maybe mute your phone. I don't. That won't stop messages kind of popping up, but it will stop the sound definitely. So
Okay,
I
that's
don't know.
fine.
But if anybody else knows, please share. If anybody else knows.
Yes. So really, to introduce myself, really, what I would like to say is that I have started this journey very long time ago, and it was I already felt there was something quite different about me when I was when I was very young, when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and I already was very intuitive and very perceptive, and I was a psychic really since I was a very young child, and and I kept on asking questions, people, even friends at school, and they kept on joking, you should work for the police. They used to say to me, you should work for the police. Have you thought of working for the police? And I said, why? Were you asking such a strange sort of questions? And I said, they're not strange. I'm just so fascinated with how the brain works and how you feel. And nobody asked those questions around me ever at that sort of age, and I never stopped. So I think I became a natural coach since I was about 5 years old. That's what I would like to say about
Wow.
myself.
Wow. And curiosity is a superpower. Like, I think when we stop being curious and stop asking questions, no matter how old we are, that's what I love about children, because they're so curious and they ask questions that are just out of the ordinary, that make you think, like, it doesn't have to be young children, but I think if you can keep your curiosity, keep asking those questions that sometimes people find awkward, I think just opens up connection, communication, it opens up thinking. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I think we're going to end up talking about a lot of your stuff anyway. Should we dive into the first question? So I'm going to ask Gosia some questions. I'm also going to probably, as soon as she starts talking, want to ask her other questions. And by all means, guys, put your input in. If you have questions or if you want to add in your answers to what we're talking about, please do. So hi, Beth. I can see you watching as well. And so my first question is, what is, Gosia, and anybody else who wants to answer as well, what is your definition of self-love?
Yes, in fact, what I would like to say is that I would absolutely love people to write the comments, because I'm so fascinated with the subject, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on this live, because I've been answering lots of questions recently about fear and the new year and setting goals. But your questions, I've been pondering over them, for the past few days. They have really made me stop and use different pathways in my brain. And I had to really dig deep and ask myself very honestly what those things mean to me. So thank you very much, because I don't think we think enough about those things. I don't think we ask ourselves enough, do I love myself? How do I show myself love? What's missing? What am I craving for? Where do I need to nourish myself more? So I think those questions are so important. So thank you so much for holding this torch for women, particularly.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what is self-love to me? And I really thought about it very deeply, and I came to the conclusion. I used to think this for many years, but I needed to really get down to it very deeply to verbalize it for myself first, to be able to say this to you today. What I think self-love means to me is to meet yourself fully, and meet yourself in your magnificence and in your greatness and in your beauty, and to the same extent meet yourself in your pain and in your shit.
Oh,
Yeah. And even I'm
Full body
saying,
goosebumps.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
full
even
body
I'm
goosebumps.
saying this, and I feel like I want to cry, because what we often don't do, we don't meet ourselves in our magnificence and greatness, and we judge ourselves, and we basically always think there is something else to work on, which is probably true, but we keep on never feeling enough. And I think if we really love ourselves, or even when we start the journey towards self-love, we need to look at the fact, for me, this is just a fact, that you are a miracle and life is a miracle. I am a miracle and my life is a miracle, right? And from that place, if I am a miracle, what do I do about that? Okay. And so if I'm a miracle, I need to fully meet myself in that space every single day. And but that space could be that I could be feeling awful, you know, that I may feel really sad, or I may feel very angry, or I may feel very fearful. So instead of pushing things down, leaving them for later, attending to other people's needs first, yes, um, is meeting myself and saying, right, you're a miracle, you're magnificent, you may have a shit day today, but let's meet yourself. And, you know, and part of it is meeting yourself where you hurt the most, and not overlooking the pain. And I know you've had to go through a lot of self um, examination, and looking at yourself very deeply to have arrived to where you are, and all the things that have happened, including your illness, has actually forced you to love yourself. Like, I don't think that after an experience like that there isn't any way out of that, really, alive, without actually loving yourself more deeply, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So so just to sort of explain a little bit more what I mean, is just like when I analyze myself today, where did I love myself the most and where did I love myself the least? Okay. So what I really, what I have to put, tap myself on the shoulder and say, you've done so well, Gosia, is that I have very early on in my life recognized my talents. And I think I must have been really in my 20s, when I was 21, when I started working with people with cancer. That takes so much
Wow.
courage, but I didn't even think of it. I basically realized what I was good at and I just did it. And in the beginning, it
Wow.
was just cooking. It was just cooking. And then, but very early on, within a year or two, I started working with people's minds and emotions. And some people may think, gosh, that's a bit irresponsible. You were only young. But because I knew what my mission was already then, what my passion was, and I believed in myself so much, and I followed my passion, and I kept on growing and studying and learning every year, then basically I was able to serve people more. So when I think one aspect of self-love is showing up in your greatness, admitting where your talents are, and shining brightly. And this is what you're doing right now, more and more and more, and this is wonderful to watch you. In fact, I've come
Thank
to the
you.
conclusion, since you started doing the self-love, you look prettier every time I see you.
Oh, thank you. Do you know, somebody said to me, you look younger than you did before. And
Yes,
honestly, I think it makes you younger. Like, it is, it's loving it's like your own medicine.
completely.
Like, self-love is the medicine that you can give yourself, that you don't need to pay for, that you don't need anyone else's permission for. We might think we do, but we don't. And we might need to give ourselves permission for that self-love, but we've got it for free.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. We've
thank
got
you.
it for free. And you absolutely look more and more beautiful every time I see you.
Thank you.
You're a very good advocate for self-love, my darling.
Oh, thank you.
And so coming back to the subject, so one of the aspects is like, how do I know that other people love themselves? And there's lots of
Yeah.
categories, so one category is, honor who you are in terms of your talents, gifts, your abilities, and then don't hide it but shine brightly. So I could definitely say that there's a tick here for me. And of course, I've got a long way to go because I've been hiding, not writing my book and avoiding, showing myself fully. But in a sense, I've done actually quite well. Another aspect of self-love is actually listening to the intuition and feeling very deeply what we need to do in any given moment and act on it. And I have been actually very good at it most of my life. But recently, particularly when on my trip to Australia, I have realized that I cannot even stray away 1 second from my intuition, because now if I do that, I get punished almost. Well, I don't know who punishes me. It's probably myself. But it feels quite painful when I ignore my intuition because it's almost instantaneous. Do you get that? Do you get that too?
I know what you mean, and it feels like that more and more and more as well for me too. Yeah. Yeah,
It almost
definitely.
feels like there is no option but to actually honor oneself more and more and
Yeah.
listen to the intuition. So then I can say here tick as well most of the time.
So
And
on that, sorry, Gosia, just sorry to interrupt, but on that, I'm just thinking of the audience here, and I'm thinking of people who aren't used to self-love and aren't used to this topic, and maybe feel like it's something so alien for them. And listening to their intuition, like I've done a lot of work on start listening to my body and understanding what my body needs. So I'm kind of, you know, better than I was 4 years ago, better than I was a year ago or 6 months ago, even, because it's that constant journey. But what would you say to people who don't feel like they even know what their intuition is or can even feel connected to it, and what that means and what that might be translating to in terms of pain
yeah, this is
and
a
not
very good
listening to it?
question. Yeah. Well, I have never actually met anybody who, particularly women, who don't know what the intuition is. And I would actually absolutely say that one of the best things to start developing your intuition is actually pausing and sitting still and just feeling, without any exercises or doing any sort of magical tricks, and just basically sitting there and noticing how you feel. And then after, because you see, this is actually the follow on from what I said, my love, that meeting yourself fully is it's a it's an expression of how much people love themselves. And look how many of us, we actually just sit and we just be still. And I'm not even talking about meditating, by the way,
Yeah,
because
I know what you mean.
yeah, meditating is another thing to do. Oh my God, I haven't meditated today. But like sitting and meeting yourself.
And that there's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I know I do that all the time. Like I at lunchtime today, I was like, okay, I've got a to-do list, I've got this, I've got that. And it was actually like, AmarRouh, you don't need to do anything. Have your lunch and sit.
yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. And I think, we have never been taught this, how to actually meet ourselves in stillness, in silence. And but when we do, and we just sit and we just breathe and just sit and check, how do I feel right now? Even, asking yourself this question, what do I need? How do I feel? What's there? Then intuition kicks in straight away. In the beginning, there may be a lot of chaos. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Of course, all the inner dialogue that it's never ending, you know.
Mm.
But if you just breathe and relax and just sit, at each time it gets a bit easier, you know. And
Yeah.
so the intuition is basically the the beautiful, supportive, and loving voice underneath all the noise. That is noise of the
Oh, can
day.
you just say that again? Can you just say that again,
Yes.
please?
So the intuition is the gentle, quiet, loving, supportive voice underneath all the noise, the inner and outer noise. I'll say it. That was quite good, wasn't it? I just came up with
Oh,
it.
that was amazing. Can we just say it again? Your intuition is your beautiful, supporting, quiet voice underneath all the chaos.
And the noise, right?
And
Yes.
and the noise, yeah, and all the noise and the chaos. Hey, Carrie, and and I want to highlight that because the title of this interview, this conversation, is how do we create self-love in real life, especially with the end of the year coming, deadlines, Christmas, all that stuff. And if we're feeling frenzied, I think that tapping into the intuition and just remembering it's that gentle voice, that background voice, that support, that guidance, that kind of sometimes gets hidden behind the chaos and the noise, that actually you could access when you just meet yourself by doing nothing.
And it's actually, I just would like to add something, because it's one aspect of intuition. And thank you, Beth and Beth, for saying
Yeah,
that you
thanks,
like
guys.
it.
I love
Yes.
that definition too. Oh, it's
Uh,
brilliant.
but so one aspect of it is the voice, but the other thing about intuition is the feeling. And to access the
Oh,
feeling, we have to be in the body. But how often we're not in the body? But because we are busy, we're becoming the lists, to-do lists, more than human beings. We are the human
oh,
doings. We are the list, and we
doings.
click, click, click,
Yeah.
click, 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 click. And I actually think this is a very important thing I need to say right now. I actually think that the current life as we know it, including the social media, it's almost set up to put us into trance.
Yep.
Trance, like sort of like forgetting of who we really are. Because in the past, people had very simple lives. They've been in nature, and if you actually look at like when I was in Greece or Spain, those very old villages, the old people, they sit on the benches in front of the houses. They've done everything they
Yeah.
needed to do. And particularly those are the places where people have very high longevity.
They
Like
live
they
the
live
longest. Yes.
hundreds,
Yes.
20 and 30, and they just sit there and they don't even talk particularly. And for us, we just drive through and we go, "Gosh, what a waste of time! They should be doing something. They're living." Yeah, they
Yeah.
breathing,
They're living.
they
Yes.
in meditation, they actually enjoying themselves. And so, but basically, I could give them, I could give you guys hundreds of exercises, and I run courses on intuition. But I actually think for today, what I really feel drawn to say, and I'm actually speaking to myself as well, to be honest, because I've been so busy.
Aren't we always? Always I'm talking to myself when I do this work. Yeah.
Yes, so guys, so just give yourself time to meet yourself in silence, and silence and unconditional acceptance of what is. So whether you feel shit, whether you feel brokenhearted, whether you feel annoyed, to sit there and embrace that, and just ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need? What do I require right now um to lift me up, to feel better, to if I was to show myself love right now, what would I do? And Beth has actually
Oh,
mentioned
sorry.
something.
Sorry. Can I just pause there? If I could show myself love right now, what would I do? Another gem that you can use in real life. Mic drop. Thank you, Gosha.
Thank you for pausing me, because I sometimes don't pause enough. Can you read what Beth has said? Because I can't read the
Yeah, I
whole.
was just about to. Yeah. Beth says, I've always used my intuition in situations, but can't think that I've ever given a name to that voice underneath the chaos. But I know being still several times throughout the day is healing and restorative for me. I like the thought that the quiet voice is my intuition. Oh, I've got goosebumps, guys, like full body goosebumps. Thank you for that. And Carrie, yeah, it's perfect. Honestly, perfect definition. And I know we kind of went off. I know you still were answering some of that question, but this is what happens when I do these interviews, is that I then have to hold, I have to kind of follow my intuition on what comes up. So forgive me for interrupting that, but I think it was useful.
Oh, that's beautiful. But actually, I don't remember for a long time having a conversation on life when I'm feeling so the energy flowing through me so strongly, like you were just saying,
Same.
goosebumps and all sorts of things, energy flowing. So I think something important is happening here, my darling. And you
Definitely,
guys,
definitely.
thank you for joining
Did
us.
you want to did you want to say something else? So I know you were saying In answer to the question of your definition of self-love, you were saying there's places where you do meet yourself, like in terms of your work and your intuition. And then you said, there's times when you haven't met yourself.
Yeah.
Did you want
So
to talk about that?
yes, I would love to actually. Yes, come clean in front of you.
Because that's real life. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when where I have not met myself often, or where I fail myself when it comes to self-love, it's, well, sometimes it's in that stillness, because I'm being very sort of focus on doing this in the morning. I always do it in the morning and always do it in the evening, and I set my intention, I send love. But sometimes, during the day, when I go into that trance, of doing, particularly when I'm on the computer, not so much when I work with people, but when I'm working with people, I am very much aligned with my spirit. But when I get in on the computer, I sometimes just can go for 3-4 hours, and I forget that I need to drink, that I even need to pee. And I think
Yep.
this is actually linking with something I wanted to say. Sometimes people say that when you do what you love, you never work another day of your life. Have you heard people say that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And I actually, on one hand, it's true actually, because I never feel like I'm working when with my clients. I feel like I'm having
Mm.
fun, I'm meeting friends. But on the other hand, when you do what you love, you actually work harder.
It's so true. Absolutely. And can take a lot of energy. It can actually take more energy because you're so invested in what you love that it's remembering that you need a break from that.
And then you never stop.
Absolutely.
So I
Yes.
actually could. So this is where I fail myself, or where I don't actually show myself enough consideration and care, that I could easily, if I get into something that I love, I could continue doing this 8 hours straight without moving. And increasingly, so my body is begun to complain. And so I know that in order for me to have an extremely good, healthy body, I need to at least 3 times a week do yoga for an hour. If I want to have an extremely, happy body, then an hour every day. And so if I don't do that for a week, and I sometimes would have missed my yoga for a whole week, my body becomes extremely grumpy and disappointed with me, and and it is beginning to complain beyond belief, which is actually good, because then I go and I
You
and I
have to
do
do something.
something.
Yeah.
But what's
Yeah.
actually quite sad, that I sometimes allow my body to go to a place of, like shoulder aches and hip pain and whatever. If I really truly truly love myself deeply, um always, I would not do that. Which takes me to another thing I want to actually mention, that, and which I forgot to say, that one of the measurement of self-love, it's the level of organization that we have in our life.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
And
And you know what that reminds me of is masculine and feminine energy. So the masculine of logic and structure and analysis and kind of, the focus of things versus, the feminine, the flow, letting things happen, the wisdom, the passion, and all of that. You have to have both. And I think that's what self love is, not needing to be one or the other, is having those traits and using those in your life in equal proportions or in relevant proportions. I'm not saying they have to be equal, but in relevant proportions. So I know when I started, I was so masculine focused. I was always doing. And I really kind of embraced those traits without realizing it. And then when I kind of realized I was kind of more creative, tapping into those things, my passion and all of that, then I did go through a phase where I lost the masculine side, the structure, the organization, so I definitely need both. And what you said about organization reminded me of that
and
we need that.
and I think that I'm glad that you've mentioned, that you've gone from one side to another, and of course the ideal place is balance. which is not easy to keep. But I've had some very interesting experience many years ago where I was looking, I think it was car keys, and I couldn't find them. And you know, like you come home and you hang them on a hook normally,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I did come home and I didn't hang them on a hook, and I could not find them that day or for the next day, I don't know. And I have actually missed a very important meeting, like extremely important meeting, like life and death almost, right? And and then I realized the universe showed me on a very deep level the importance of uh, giving that everything needs to have its home, everything it needs to have its place. And when you give places to things that matter in your life, um, then everything is in order and everything beautifully flows. So the structure and organization, and I call it divine order, right? And then
Love
everything,
it. Yeah.
if everything is in a divine order, then it feels appreciated. So for instance,
Mm, mm.
you know, I was reading a book about a year ago, but I think it's called Pay Yourself First. And even though I fully haven't applied this rule yet, but basically you have different accounts, you know, for different things. And because everything immediately, all the money you earn goes into those accounts, basically you keep on making more money, attracting more money, and there is more financial freedom and support than you've ever had before. So you're still earning the same amount of money, but because there is the separation and the divine order in there like never been before, um, somehow the universe starts sending you more prosperity and more opportunities, and new amazing things happen. So even though maybe the income hasn't changed, somehow there is more abundance in your life. And I think
Yeah.
um, and I don't know if you've experienced it, that when you bring order to anything, whether it's your uh, you know, cupboard or kitchen, finances, relationships, communication, whatever, then amazing things happen. And I definitely think this is self-love in action, and that's where I failed many times, because I'm not actually a very well organized person when it comes to kitchen and clothes. I might sometimes maybe put them, oh, and then I can't find something. And I think self-love requires discipline.
Absolutely. Do you know who else said that? Is Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was doing a lot more of these conversations, because I took a break the last sort of 4 months. But Will Smith says that self-love is pretty much self-discipline. If you love yourself, you will say, I will not have that fourth slice of pizza. That's what he said. He did a brilliant video. And um and I actually sent him a message saying, please, could I interview you for my
Ah,
self-love research? But
fantastic.
I haven't heard back yet.
Not yet, but you will. But you will, absolutely.
I think I will. Yeah, so it was yeah, definitely it's self-discipline. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So
And I also feel the same way about what you said about exercise and physical, like, you know, for sure I'm kind of really good at my mental and emotional self-love, but physical, when it comes, I know that I would feel a lot better if I did actually have an hour's exercise every day. I try and get out as much as possible, but I know if I actually committed to an hour every day, my energy levels will shoot through the roof and all of that. Sorry, I just want to read some of the message. Beth had to go. Sorry, Beth. It was great having you. Beth said, I feel divine order is what's been missing from my life. Thank you. Yay. I agree. Like divine order. And it makes it feel more gentle than kind of that whole discipline thing, because discipline always feels like I'm doing something wrong. You know that word
mhm,
from kind of
mhm,
from
mhm.
school, like,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
discipline, you need
And
to be
punishment.
disciplined. Yeah, yeah. Carrie says, oh, I've experienced the shift in abundance after bringing areas into order, but actual financial income has not changed, even though it feels magnanimous.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's so true. It's so, because you're actually becoming wealthier in other ways,
Mhm.
and that's what wealth is about. It's about it's not the financial, only the financial wealth. It's all of it, isn't it? It's the whole thing.
Yes, and you know, I was just thinking also that a big part of this self-love thing, the one of the reasons why I've written a book, because I don't know, many people in here don't know me because I can see names that people I don't recognize. So just wanted to explain that I have, because I'm dyslexic and English is not my first language, as you can hear. I have
You're amazing.
discovered this sort of technique of turning fear into success while working with one of the clients who had fear of dying. You know, she, in fact, she was very young. She was only 24 years old, and she was basically petrified of dying, and she was crying and crying and crying, and somehow all the technique that I have tried to use on her didn't work, but that one, I came up with the idea, it worked. And then I kept on, oh, hello, Carrie, sounds dyslexic. Yeah, this is
Carrie
the,
says, yeah, Carrie's dyslexic and she's also a wonderful writer and a professional muse if, for your future books, just so you know.
oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well done. And yes, so basically I kept on using this technique on other people and discovered that it works brilliantly. So thousands of people later, someone says, well, why don't you write a book? And I go, oh well, I'm busy and da 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 da. So then I was basically lost in a long-winded stories and procrastination. Well, really, I was afraid. And I think, as I said earlier, that in order to love yourself fully, you need to be disciplined enough and caring about yourself enough to recognize that that darker side, the shadow side in your life, has got a very important purpose or a reason for being there. And I came to the conclusion, and we've spoken about it many times, that the fear is one of the biggest allies. It's one of the biggest friends that we have, because it always shows us the next level of expansion. And
Yes.
in fact, I recorded a live today on my page. So if you want to listen to it, and it's all about how to recognize it is your next step. It is the right time for you to go to your next level of expansion. How to recognize this is
Mm.
the time, and how do we know? And then this is very much related to love. To stop, to pause, to look at your life in a very honest way and see, where have I been procrastinating? Where have I been hiding? Where have I been telling myself that I'm not good enough? Um, yes, and I think if you basically use those procrastinations and those fears to propel yourself to your next level of growth and expansion, this is an absolute pathway to self-love as well, to growth,
Yeah.
to magnificence. And I don't think any people, nobody I know who've achieved outstanding things, um, would say to me, yeah, I've never been scared of anything. They've been
Yeah.
scared shit, you know, and they've gone and they've embraced it and they've used it to their highest advantage, but most importantly, for the highest good of other people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, it's like, I think, you know, this is what I'm coming to realize is that fear and what happens in our body when we're going through that is they're just clues. And you know, we've been taught to see it as a good thing and a bad thing, but actually it's just clues. Hey, Nicola, I'm so glad you could join. So you say you've just realized this. Was that about what we're saying about the fear? It's kind of you being ready for the next level. Is that what you have just realized as well?
Tell us more.
Um,
Tell us more.
yeah, tell us more. So, and also, you know, it just reminds me what you said of, like, you know, I call it up level flu. So, you know, I know if I get a cold, I know it's because either I'm detoxing what I don't need anymore, or it's because I've just made a step into doing something scary, and it's just my body's just like, whew, okay, let's just release some stuff. You're up leveling, you know, that's all that's happening. So, it just reminded me of that as well.
And it
Oh,
just
yes,
reminded
exactly
me,
that.
yes, Nicola, oh, she says, yes, exactly that. That's
That's
exactly.
because you're up leveling, girl.
And but you know what I've actually my other thing I wanted to share with people is that that when we truly love ourselves, we owe this to ourselves to constantly get rid of things that don't work for us. And so it could be clutter. For me, it's papers, 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 piles of papers.
I won't show you my desk right now. Yeah.
Show us the truth about yourself. Yes.
No, no, not today. Another day, maybe.
Yes,
You can see it
exactly.
if you like. Do you want me to show you? Look, you can
Yes.
see it if you like. I mean, it's just, look, there's shit everywhere.
Oh, that's
Like,
not bad.
it's
That's not.
not, it's not bad. It's not my worst, but it's not, it could be better, but it
And
doesn't matter.
and so letting go of clutter, but it may not just be physical clutter like old clothes, shoes, people. Because sometimes we hold on to things, people, friends, ideas, foods, jobs, and things which actually drain our energy. And I think
Yes.
now the real question is I've just had a very important conversation with a friend of mine. Is what if the person who actually drains your energy is one of your family members? Now, this is a big question.
Yep. I'm just reading here, Carrie saying, I've learned to feel the fear and then go ahead and jump in, tits flying. I may make mistakes, but I'm moving in the direction of my dreams and goals. Absolutely. Oh, Carrie cracks me up every time. So bloody inspiring. Nicola says, oh, clutter. I just literally got rid of so much paper and stuff. I'm ridding and shedding at the moment and loving it. Oh my God. And you know what? I do think that when we physically declutter, we naturally, emotionally, and mentally declutter. It's like they all link anyway. It all happens anyway. So I think whatever you're called to declutter, then go with that, because that's what you need and that's what will help you overall. Like, I know when I do emotional decluttering with my clients, we do a lot of letting go work, and they've come back and said, I had to go home and clean a drawer out, or I had to go home and I just, I'm a hoarder and I went and cleaned all this stuff out, and now it's just like, so it naturally progresses from one thing to another, but just start somewhere. So, oh, the girls are on it. And some people, I'm so desperate to declutter, Bep says, I hadn't realized it was down to up leveling. It absolutely is. It absolutely is up to up because of up leveling. Carrie says, oh, me too, Nicola. It feels amazing. We've all been decluttering. I haven't done any in a while, but I think my decluttering personally has been on my holiday, and just like allowing myself to just be free, not think about what work am I going to do when I get back, or who do I need to speak to, what do I need to arrange. It was literally just, this is my holiday and that's what I'm doing. And honestly, I think that's partly why it was one of my best holidays.
Can,
And it
can
was
I
just being
ask
in the
you?
moment.
Can I ask what was the most important moment on your holiday when you felt the closest to self-love? Like, did you have any experiences of learning even more deeply about self-love?
So it was listening to myself. So there was something I really, really, really wanted to do, that I'm not going to share here because it's personal. But it's not what I wanted to do is not actually relevant. It was actually about listening to my body. And I've been doing a lot of research and work on the menstrual cycle and how we connect to our womb and our vagina and that whole woman's area, and listening to our whole body. And I do a lot of kind of the intuitive around listening to your heart, but actually for women, it's listening to our whole body and it's listening to our down there stuff. And I think for me, it was getting to that next level of listening to myself. That was the closest. And it was like everything became crystal clear when I did that. And my whole body relaxed. And I felt like I was glowing, like literally just from listening to myself.
Sounds like an orgasm, my love.
Possibly.
Oh,
But yeah, it was listening to myself and feeling that complete peace and respect for yourself, that wow, I actually did this for myself.
wow. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've had a very profound experience on my holiday as well about self-love. And it's so profound that I still sort of I'm trying to find ways to fully comprehend it and utilize it in my life. But it was very much about giving too much, and how when we sort of give because we love
Mm.
giving, and there is a point that it's very, very important to keep the boundaries and say no, particularly when your body tells you no. Yes, and so I had those few of those examples
Oh,
on
yes.
holiday, and because when you're on holiday, you see everything a lot more vividly, and it happens so profoundly and so deeply that my body is still sort of resonating with it. And so my message to myself that I've taken from it is um give, and then take. So it's the balance of giving and receiving needs to be
Ah,
established more firmly if we basically are to love ourselves. And one of the lives that I have done recently, I've said that it's important to very clearly name what you want to be receiving this coming year from the universe. What do you want to receive in terms of what are you allowing and opening yourself up to receive? Because we need to be a container for receiving. But often, particularly the people who are listening to it now, I would assume that we are givers, and so we are more containers for giving rather than receiving.
yeah.
And um, and so I think what was very important for me, and it was very much underlined when I was away, that this is another structure and order that needs to be put in place, that we need to be clear about, okay, this is what I want to receive now. This is the kind of help I need. And being absolutely okay about asking people. Because when people are asked, they only feel honored and privileged when someone like you or me says, listen, I need help. Yes? And
Yeah.
yeah. So let's just see what people have to share with us.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back because I've got a question about that for you. So, Nicola and Carrie having a conversation. Carrie, it's so bloody great. Letting it go and getting rid is a relief, a sigh of fuck yeah. Yeah, baby. Starting decluttering with my wallet always feels great and then leads to decluttering more small areas. Absolutely. I think I used to get so overwhelmed by decluttering around the house and clothes and all that kind of stuff. But I think, and then I just realized I could just take it one drawer at a time, one purse at a time, one section at a time. It doesn't matter. Yes, Nicola, I love this topic as well, and I'm so glad you're here. Um, your question, sorry, what you were saying about your body asked you to say no, and I'm thinking about what this means for people in real life. So you were quite clear that you kind of needed to say no to something and it didn't happen, and maybe you overlooked it or you ignored it, and that kind of reminds me of we've talked about this in some of the previous self-love conversations as well, and it comes up all the time, is about the boundaries, knowing when to say no. I know Carrie loves the sentence, no is a complete sentence. And and being able to say no, and what stops us from saying no. So I'm just wondering for the guys here, oh, Carrie's got a client in 5 minutes. It's been so lovely having you. And being able to say no to people in real life, like coming back to this, the boundaries, but at the same time being open to giving and receiving.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, guys, for joining us. It feels so special to have so much interaction on online. It's
It's been
beautiful.
lovely, absolutely lovely, you special people.
Yeah. So darling, I was thinking about, I want to ask you a question. When was it in your life that you definitely realized that it's time for you to love yourself now? Like how early, how late did you become very aware that there is absolutely no way, but you have to actually acknowledge it and do something about this?
um Great question. I'll come back to it. I was just looking at Bep saying, I feel I say no as I put others' needs before mine. What do you mean by that, Bep? Do you mean that you find it hard to say no, or you feel like when you say no, it's because you're putting other people's needs before yours? Give me a bit more information on that one. I'm curious. Honoring my own boundaries is key to loving myself. Absolutely, Carrie. Like those been the biggest learnings. I think in answer to your question, when did I know that it was about self-love and that I needed to do that and that's what would make a difference, is I don't know when that happened. For me, it wasn't like this is self-love. It was the whole thing. I think that having cancer made me change. I was forced to change, and then I made choices after that. And I think every step I took after that led me to learning more about myself. And I think for a long time I was trying to fix what I thought was broken, which is, you were saying that earlier. And Bep says when she got cancer, yeah, like, it forced me to do it, but it wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't, you've had this now and now you have to, you kind of work through the trauma of things. You try and you work through how you want things to be different. And I think it's only in the last, I can tell you what one key event that really made a difference for me was when I was working with one of my other coaches, Olivia Charlet, and we did a workshop. And basically, I realized how horrible I was to myself. The negative self-talk, even though I'd done all this work, exploring myself, forgiving myself, all of this stuff, wanting to be a coach, wanting to, leaving my job, doing scary things like leaving my job and setting up my own business, I was still talking to myself like I had a part-time job in self-abuse. And that was one of my biggest wake-up calls. And I think that it was a pivotal changing point for me, because it was like, I can now no longer call myself a dickhead. I can laugh at myself, but if I drop something, or if I do something and if I've forgotten something, or if I've hurt someone by accident, I don't do those things intentionally. I do not give myself as much of a hard time as I used to. There can still be pockets. That's why it's a journey, depending on the situation. But I can look at myself and say, I love you. I can look at my body and love it however it is. And that's taken work. But I think that was definitely a pivotal moment, the negative self-talk. And I know that every client I've worked with since has said the same thing. Wow. About the actual negative self-talk.
Wow. It seems to be quite an easy thing to miss, right? Because nobody sees it.
No, you don't. And that's why people are so shocked. And it's like, oh my God, how am I talking to myself like this? Like, and actually noticing how you talk every day. And then, and it's shocking. But I want to hear what other people are saying as well. So Bep says, before I had cancer, I felt I was here to look after everybody else. My cancer made me realize I matter too. You do matter, Bep. Yes, you do matter. Nicholas says, big stuff that happens in life often propels the choice of change. Absolutely. What would be your top tips to rid negative self-talk? Brilliant question. Gosia, do you want to answer that? I just want to check in on time. It's 2 minutes to 8 o'clock. Are you okay to stay on for a little while? Or do you need to go at 8?
I can stay.
I can too. I know.
I love it so much.
This is what happens.
In fact, my boyfriend was joking yesterday, because it seems that I'm doing lives every single day now. He says,
it looks like it.
Why? He said, why don't you do a whole day live, whole night live, that it will start like 7, it will go all the way till the morning, and we'll see who will be able to stay on. No,
a live-a-thon. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Can I actually answer this? Nicola is saying yes. So there's 2 things that I want to say. First of all, I just want to say I've been working with cancer patients for over 20 years, actually more than 20, 26 like. And one of the questions that I've always asked those ladies, and well, you know about this, AmarRouh, what was the biggest benefit of getting cancer?
Yeah.
And the women, most of the women would go, oh, well, oh, what a question. And they would say, well, it's one of the best things that have ever happened to me. Some got annoyed with me. They said, there's nothing beneficial about it. Look, I have lost my breast, I have lost my hair. And they got sometimes annoyed with me, which is understandable, right? But most women would say, it was one of the best things that have happened to me, because it gave me permission to put myself first
Yeah.
before my
Goosebumps. Yeah.
husband, before my children. And it just makes you wonder, for the people who don't have cancer yet, maybe it would be nice to do that now, put yourself first, or make yourself equally important to everybody around you, so you don't bloody need to get it.
Yes. And that's why I started doing this work, because I was like, you don't need to do what happened to me. You don't need to get cancer to be able to love yourself and enjoy yourself and live a happy, healthy life. Like, that's why I decided to do this work, because I don't want people to go where I go. I know we all have our own journeys, and whatever's going to happen in your life is going to happen. And the lessons you have to learn are the lessons you have to learn. But if there's even one person that I can kind of help guide a slightly different route, because I know at that time, I think maybe I was too far gone. I don't know, that I needed to have this journey. But who knows, if someone else can be helped, then why not try? But definitely, I always used to say cancer saved my life, because it made me do something different. I never ever want to have it happen again, and I wish it hadn't happened, but it's happened, and that's saved my life. So yeah. But
Yes.
anyway, to answer Nicola's, sorry, go on.
So are we still sort of looking at this, how do we get rid of the negative self-talk? Yes.
I was just going to say, yeah. So Nicola was saying, how do you get, because I know, but pre-cancer and even post-cancer, like that was the biggest thing. I would call myself a dickhead. I would really get angry with myself about doing things wrong or upsetting people. And I'd love to hear, I mean, I've got loads and loads of things that I use and have used that have benefited me. But what I would love to hear from you, Gosia, what are some top tips to get rid of negative self-talk?
Actually, can you give us one or two, and then I give you mine?
Okay. So I remember when I first started doing the work and started noticing what would come up, I actually used my body. So I would notice that if I was being hard on myself, it would come up in my body somewhere. And it tends to be in a place that's maybe weaker than normal. I think it's different for everybody. So mine used to be my right shoulder. And so if I was being hard on myself, I'd start to notice it in my body, and it'd be like, okay, what's going on here? And then that was a clue. Okay, how am I talking to myself? What's going on? And then I would rephrase it. So I would say, okay, you're not an idiot. I'm sorry I said that to you. I love you, or whatever else I want to put in its place. So I would change it and actually reframe it. And to begin with, it takes ages to do that, because you're kind of doing it all the time and you realize how horrible you are to yourself. And it sounds weird. And it's like, I'm not telling myself. I remember I worked with a group of women and they were like, well, that's a bit self-involved, isn't it? You're telling yourself, I love you. And it was like, no. If that's what you think, that's because you're doing the negative self-talk. And it can be however you want. It could be you go and do something kind and compassionate for somebody else that they don't even find out. Like, it could be to, offset what you're doing. There's the self-compassion part of it. Where am I judging myself and what can I do instead? And also, whose voice is this? Asking
There we
yourself
go.
the question,
There we go.
whose
There we go.
voice is this? Because usually it's not your voice. And Nicola, I say to everybody, one of the books that really was so powerful, and I kind of use it a lot in my workshops, is Warrior Goddess Training by Heather Ash Amara. And she talks about negative self-talk, and there's loads of techniques in there, but it talks about the judgment piece. It comes from the 4 agreements. I can't remember the guy's name, but she was his protege. So they talk, it talks about the judge, and and when you were younger, and your teacher and all of that, and the voice, whose voice is it? Because really it's not yours, you got it from somewhere. So those are a couple of things. I really like to use my body because I kind of start to notice it straight away, and that takes practice, but you can do it. So where's that kind of area in you that always churns or hurts or aches, and then use it to switch it around, to give you clues and then restate that.
Okay. So I would
Yeah,
like
go
to
on.
take over from this, because this is exactly where I wanted to come to. So you beautifully connected me with this. So one of the exercises that you can guys do when you have this negative self-talk, and let's just say that you have this sort of thing going on in your head that goes, look, you fucked it up, you've done it again, you're a bloody idiot. Yeah. So let's just say that you have that sort of story going on. You're a total failure, bloody idiot, what a fool. Okay, dickhead. And then you basically you meet yourself again. You see, you need to find time to meet that voice. So even when you whether some people ignore it, but actually meeting it with compassion and love sometimes is enough to dissolve it. Okay, because when you shine light
Mm.
upon this blah, 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 this sort of little monster, right, it's enough for it to sort of like a rat. When you shine a light on a mouse or a rat, it would just run away very quickly, right? But if it doesn't sort of settle down with your softness and love and embracing, and when you ask yourself whose voice is it, quite frequently it is your father, mother, brother, sister, a colleague or teacher from school. You know, if you've been bullied, Katie Smith, you know, whatever. And what you do actually is something very simple that is quite fun. You basically you identify what that voice is, you take it out of your head, and you put it into a body of a Mickey Mouse or Donald Ducks, for instance, right? So you hear what that person is saying, you bloody dick, okay? So it sort of sounds a little bit funny, okay? So it's no longer inside your head, but it's outside, and you have a little bit more. Well, you basically laugh at it rather than
Yeah.
that voice laughing at you. But also then if it's someone else's voice that you find very very destructive, you can put it on a CD, like we used to have it, you know, on a CD tape or something, and basically burn it down, destroy it, chop it into pieces, and you can physically imagine that it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that then you can do, which a lot of people tried and they said it worked, you basically you record on your phone. Okay, you record on your phone the total opposite. And I remember when I was about 21, my then boyfriend, I found out that he was unfaithful, and that he was like, lying to me and sleeping with someone for 6 months. And it completely destroyed me, particularly that she was extremely beautiful. She was nothing like me. She didn't swear. She had long fingers, blonde hair. She was tall and slim, and I was total opposite, you know? And and I
I
was
love
very
your swearing, by the way.
right.
I'm just saying.
Me
Yeah.
too. But you can imagine I was comparing myself, and I didn't feel
Yeah.
that feminine and this beautiful. So basically what I did, I recorded on a recorder, um, all the things where I didn't feel I was up to scratch. I didn't feel I was lovable enough. So I would sort of record things like this. You are beauty. I am beautiful. You are beauty. Gosia, you are beautiful. Gosia, you are amazing. You are talented. You're attractive. You are delicious. I am delicious. I'm attractive. So I was saying all those things over and over again. I remember I went to my brother's house, and I borrowed his house for an hour, and I kept on recording those things over and over again. And then I popped it on my ears, and I basically, whatever I did, cleaning, cooking, shopping, walking to school, back, I would listen to it. And probably it took 1 or 2 days, and I noticed that it shifted my energy quite
Mm.
profoundly. And that was my first experience of affirmations then, and then what I've noticed, and what was actually quite interesting, I have not changed anything. I didn't become any slimmer, any prettier. And then at that point, I didn't wear any makeup. I was always wearing big, scruffy jumpers covering my breasts, because I didn't, well, it's a long story, but basically, my father was not very supportive of my femininity. He would sort of tell me off for trying to become feminine. And so I basically covered myself up. So I was still walking, looking exactly the same, scruffy as you could imagine, like a boy. And I was walking through a building site, and there was, you know, a bunch of builders, and they were going. And I was thinking, oh, that must have been for someone else. But I looked around, there was nobody there, and they were making some comments. So, you know, typically women would get annoyed and embarrassed and upset, but I was delighted because thinking, yes. Um, so so that's one way of dealing with those voices. Yes. Um, another way is to actually go and meet the little child who was told those things when she was young. Yes. And go and give her a hug. So if you basically told yourself that you are a dickhead or something like that, and you then go and sit down, close your eyes, meet yourself, and go and find this little girl who was told these things over and over again, and give her a hug. So, like as you were saying, you know, apologize to yourself, but I would go and apologize to the little girl, and give her a hug and say, listen, I'm really, really sorry here, but I love you, and I'm standing by you, you know. So that's what I would actually do. um, but I have another very secret weapon which I would like to talk as we're approaching the end of this show,
Yes.
and this
We're gonna have to
amateur
finish at some
show.
point, aren't we? We're gonna have to finish at some point, unfortunately. Yeah, go on.
Unfortunately, yes. And it is, my darling, the power of blessing, which takes me to the special gift that we have for people, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Gosha's got a special gift for everybody. She's
but only
amazing.
those people who manage to stay with us all the way through to the end. No, I'm not. I'm joking. It's for
No, anyone can
everybody.
have it. It's going to be in the comments, so anyone can have it, to be honest.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm not being serious about this. And you can share
Yeah.
it with your friends, with your clients, with your family, with your children, husbands, lovers, all of them. You know, just share it. Basically, so the secret weapon for negative self-talk, in fact, is the secret weapon for anything at all, and it's the power of blessing. And so basically, I will give you an example now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to bless AmarRouh now, and we will see. And I would like you to close your eyes when I'm doing this, and you tell me how you feel at the end of it, okay?
Okay. You're going to make me close my eyes on a live stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody else better stay on and watch this then. I'm not doing it on my
Do
own.
not fall asleep. Okay. So
Okay, go on then.
take a deep breath in, breathe out, breathe through your heart. Just open yourself fully to what I'm going to do now. And I'm just sending you lots of love, darling. And I'm sending you divine light, light. And I am blessing every single cell in your body with joy, with happiness, with tenderness, with fun, with playfulness, and with the most incredible year ahead. So I'm blessing your next 12 months with prosperity, great ideas, with more love than you've ever experienced from others and yourself, with new opportunities, new connections that will open new doors for you. And I bless every single day of your life with peace, serenity, health, and I bless you with very long life, so you can continue doing this amazing work forever and enjoy yourself fully. So I bless you, I bless your family, I bless your friends, I bless your work, I bless everything you do, and I bless the series, and I bless all the women who are listening to it with great love, abundance, and happiness. It is done, it is done, it is done. Okay. So now we can open your eyes and tell us how you feel and what you felt when I was blessing you.
I thought I was going to cry actually, because it literally just filled up my whole body. You know, and I know I've experienced this with you before, and for me it's the, without making it, okay, let me not make it intellectual, because that's what I tend to do. It felt like my whole body was surrounded in love. That's what I'm going to say. I could explain the science, but I won't.
So my darling, so this is another way to deal with negative self-talk.
Yes.
So if you do
Nicola,
that,
yes.
yes, so if you do that, Nicola, in the morning, if you actually bless your day and bless yourself and bless your thoughts, and so you basically say, I bless my thoughts, I bless my thinking, I bless my feeling with divine perfection. And well, you don't need to use divine if you, for instance, don't believe in the divine, but maybe you just bless yourself with what you want to experience, and you send that energy and that love ahead of the day. The vibration will shift, and it will be a lot more easy for you to stay in the energy of joy, peace, and harmony. So I would say that that also works for other people who tend to be quite negative. In fact, my father, which is a completely different story, but my father was a very depressive and a very angry man. And at the end of his life, just before he had a stroke, he was going into rages. And my mom called me one day and she said, I don't think I can bear it anymore. And she said, what should I do? And I said, why don't you bless him? And I basically wrote her like a different prayer. And because she's religious, she included Christ there and other things. And she said to me a few days later, it works. Normally he would rant for about half an hour or 45 minutes. And now he does it for 5 minutes and he forgets and he stops. And so the blessing may not only work for you and for your day and for who you want to be, but also for people around you, which takes me to the gift that I want to share with people. So, sometimes Christmas can be quite stressful. People prepare themselves and buy all those gifts and presents, and they go to the mothers-in-law and whatever, and sometimes there's a lot of stress, and you go to places where you don't want to go, and you eat things you don't want to eat, and you drink things you don't want to drink, yeah, which is sometimes quite challenging at Christmas. So I have created a little meditation. It's called end of year meditation, which basically what you do, you do this few times, and you send blessing ahead of all your meetings. You send blessings and love to the end of the year, and you fill every single day all the way to the end of the year with love. And so and when you end your year this way, there is a chance for the beginning of the year to be very different. So this is when you can start planning your year, and in that space of ending the other year very well, letting go things you don't need, writing your gratitudes. Please remember to end your year writing all the things you've been grateful for, and things you've been grateful to yourself for particularly. Yes. And so if you do that, if you fill your life and your energy with that vibration of gratitude and blessing, then miracles will happen, and it will be much easier to love yourself.
Oh, we could talk about this. There's so many things I want to say. I think I'm gonna have to save it for maybe we do another one.
Yes, please. We can do that,
another one.
over and over again.
Yeah.
Maybe, guys, would you like us to do it again? And if so, what would you like us to talk about? What would be the next thing you would like us to talk about? Write down.
Topic. Yeah.
Because I also want to invite people to come to my course in January. And
I've been to Gosia's course this is going to be the 6th year, I think, that I'm going to have been to your workshop. I know. And also, you can also come to my Shine workshop as well the week after that. I'm doing my Shine workshop the week afterwards. So you do 2 of them. If you watch this, let's do this. If you're up for it. If you watch this live stream and you liked what you saw, then maybe we can do a special deal. You can say no, Gosia, on both the workshops. Oh, yeah, Bep's already coming.
Tell us what special deal? Tell us again.
I don't know. We can talk about it. I just made that up just now.
Oh,
if people are interested in coming.
Oh, the course that I am running on the 12th of January in London, it's definitely in person. At the moment, I'm not streaming it yet. It's the whole day from 9:30 till 5. It's in West London, and maybe we can also pop both of the courses right in the link. And it's basically all about planning your year for the most successful wonderful, delicious, delightful year ever. Yes. And it's basically creating your year of expansion when you will go to the next level of growth and self-love. So if you are free on the 12th of January, please come and join me. And your course is on?
I highly recommend that course, by the way. I will be there. It's in person. It's absolutely brilliant. And Bep's coming as well. I am running my Shine workshop. So it's for women who want to reset their resilience. And it is going to be looking at mapping your life out in full color. So we're going to be talking about all things color, about your strengths, your skill set, without setting goals and strategies. This is about your whole life. You can choose a topic. It can be about love, your career, your relationships, whatever it is, but it's going to be through the lens of color, and it's going to be bloody fun. So if you're up for that, because January can be a little bit gray, then we're going to fill it with color. So that's going to be on the 19th of January, and Gosha's is on the 12th, but we'll put the link for both of those below.
Wonderful. Bring some leaflets to my course so you can share it with the girls.
Yeah,
okay.
I will. I have had the most amazing time. I could carry on talking. If you're listening to the replay, let us know what you think. Nicola, Bep, Beth, Anna, Carrie, everybody who joined, I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name. You've been absolutely amazing. Loved hearing your feedback. And Nicola says, my mum's date of birth, so a good excuse to come to London. Huh? Yeah, come. Spend January in London, Nicola. Nicola lives in Holland, so we'd love to have you. But she's an English girl, so she was kind of coming back to her roots. You can come and spend January here. Yes. Thank you so much for your participation. It's been even extra fun because you guys participated. If you're listening to the replay, you can still participate. Let us know what you think. If you'd like some more, let us know what topics you'd like. And if you would like to take part in my self-love research project, I would love to interview you, whether it's on here or whether it's offline, because I do offline interviews as well. Then I am still researching this. My target was 300 interviews in a year. I did not reach that target, but it's okay. I like to fail upwards. So I think I managed, I think I've done more than 30, less than 50. I have to count them. I'm going to do some stats. Yeah, and there's some I didn't even document, but I still had the conversations. So I'm going to carry on doing it. I'm just going to carry on doing it.
Darling, I'm so much looking forward to your book. It's going to be magnificent.
Yeah, okay. Stop telling everybody I haven't written it yet.
You have.
Oh, thanks, Beb.
You have, energetically. Now you just need to put it on.
No, energetically, I've written it. Yes. I'm going to write a book about self-love, guys. Go on, I've just said it. I've said it now. I even know the title of the book. So.
What is the title?
What was it again? What did I say? Self-love Revolution. It's going to be called Self-Love Revolution. Stories about self-love. True stories about self-love. And what I'd like to do is actually start to share. It's making me emotional. I cried when I did this at Gosha's workshop as well. Gosha, you just make me cry. It's going to be sharing some of the stories that I've collected on this little journey of mine. That's the plan.
Beautiful.
That's the plan. Now I've said it out loud.
And when will this book be done by?
Don't make me do that. I don't know.
You see, everybody wants to be interviewed.
Yeah, I'm going to interview you guys. I'll make a note of it. I'm going to do it by June next year.
Beautiful. It is done. Bravo.
It's done. It's done. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to go now, and I'm going to download this. Yeah, I know, Bep. Gosha's good at accountability. I'm going to download this. It will be available on YouTube. If you want to rewatch, if you want to share it with your friends, please do. Nicola also does a fantastic podcast called Selfish with the lovely Anna Wallace. And and I was on that podcast. I loved it. It was like this. I had so much fun. So go and listen to that as well. And I will be in touch with you guys about interviews. Thank you. Thank you, Gosha. Thank you so much. I love you. I will see you in January, if not sooner.
That's right. Lots of love. Have a wonderful Christmas, everyone. Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye bye.